Shogun has declared you a traitor. He ordered you to kill me. The ghost was an outlaw. He taught our people to defy their leaders.
To defend themselves.
With poison. A gift you gave to our enemy.
I had to stop you from throwing away our people's lives.
You have no honor.
And you are a slave to it.
If you continue down this path, you will be no better than the Mongols. Trained you to fight with honor.
Honor died on the beach. The Khan deserves to suffer.
Right.
No, you are more than that. You are the ghost. Convince your people to join me, and I will give them peace.
We will never serve you.
Your uncle said the same thing.
What lengths would you go through to protect the people you love? There are many threats and adversaries in this world. The same solution won't win every battle, and the same tactics won't win every battle. New adversaries will always come up with the new ways to defeat their opponents. So the question is change a necessity? Is change absolutely necessary for us to achieve our goals? If we stick with the same thing every day and every day, will anything change? Perhaps adaptation is the best tool to achieve your goals. Or perhaps it's possibly something else. However, let's analyze the tale of Jin Sakai. Jin Sakai is a dynamic character from the game Ghost of Tsushima. He's a character that grew up in 13th century Japan. The story is based off the Mongol invasion, which occurred in the year 1274. He was born and raised strictly in the code and the idealism of the samurai. This samurai ideology, known as Bushido, it's a belief by the samurai warriors and their precursors in feudal Japan and also in Central and East Asia. The principles of Bushido emphasize the concepts such as honor, courage, and skill in martial arts, and loyalty to one's master above all else. However, let's go into Jin Sakai's backstory to understand more of his character. Jin Sakai lost his mother and refused to believe that she was dead. He searched in the forest for her for 3 days. He even got his father killed by not giving him aid. Instead, he hid in fear. As a child, Jin Sakai had psychological inner struggles of acceptance and fear. He also had a father and son bond with the man we see as Lord Shimura, a man who is the exact opposite of Jin. He is very true to the samurai idealism. However, Jin originally suffered with the overbearing father and an uncle. They both want him to be the successor and be like them. However, they put too much emphasis on their ideology, almost never allowing Jin to express himself. Jin Sakai always wanted to live up to them, but he had a good nature. It always got the best of him. He also even suffers from PTSD from his father's death as well. Jin is also a static character as well, being calm with almost showing no emotion. Being like that is also a part of the ideology of a samurai. Stoicism and being calm. Basically the same thing. However, let's fast forward to Kamara Beach. This is where you see that his ideology cannot win you every battle. Where being honorable won't win you every fight, because are your enemies always going to be honorable? This applies in the real world. It will always be people who use dirty tricks to win. There will never be an honorable opponent you face. Maybe one, but not every person you fight or met will be honorable. The world is full of dirty people, and the Mongols are a great example of that. Jin Sakai was prepared to die on that beach. He faced an enemy who were monsters, who had no morality. Khotan Khan, grandson of Genghis Khan, was a very smart and strategic man. He learned and studied the ideology of the samurai to find out their weak points, their tactics in war, what he can exploit, and so much more. One of the best strategies of war is to know your enemy, understand the philosophy of your enemy. This is where Jin Sakai came to realize how enemies can take advantage of your ideals and beliefs. Jin Sakai realized that he is also a samurai that wouldn't be able to defeat the Mongols if they kept using the same tactics of war according to the Bushido. Jin was hesitant at first, but he knew he would have to adapt new tactics in order to win the war, or the island of Tsushima will be lost and everybody will die. This entire mindset is what led to Jin Sakai's psychological inner conflict we see throughout the game. It led himself into turning into the form we know as the Ghost. However, we need to talk more about the psychology and the development of Jin Sakai through his personality. To start off with personality, you can see it develop as you play the game. At the beginning of the game, Jin Sakai starts off as a child full of fear and denial. We see Lord Shimura teach him the ways of samurai, where he has to learn how to fight, even being taught how to kill his enemies based off the samurai code. You kill your enemies with honor. In the samurai ideology, if you don't kill enemies with your honor, it's seen as a sign of disrespect. As we know, through Lord Shimura's teaching, Jin Sakai is more calm and reserved and passive. Due to Shimura's teaching, Jin Sakai was able to master his emotions, which is stoicism, unlike when he was a child. Throughout the game, we see him rarely give in to his anger and show sympathy for his people. Despite trying to leave the samurai ideology, he still takes things from the samurai code and apply it throughout his life. Stoicism is a big part of that. Stoicism is the part of controlling your emotions and staying calm in any situation. As you can see here, recognize what you can and cannot control. You determine your reaction to a crisis. Ignore people dominated by their own negative emotions. Make yourself and aim to be virtuous. Learn to move on. Jin Sakai is also a never arrogant character. We never see any arrogance really from him against his adversaries. He also shows skills of being a tactician when it comes to planning any operation. He has showed several cases of good detective skills as well as deductive reasoning, which makes him hard to fool, showing that he is not naive or gullible, which makes him a great observer and narrate a situation without drawing any conclusions without any substantial evidence in front of him. More of Jin Sakai's personality comes off the relationship with the people of Tsushima. From several interactions with the people of Tsushima, we can see that he deeply cares about his people and greatly respects anyone who joins in the fight against the Mongols. He has also showed appreciation of the people who helped him along his journey. He has many characteristics such as leadership, showing that he is able to lead people to a great outcome, which also inspires others. Although Jin Sakai has given into his anger several times. However, anger is a human emotion. We have all given into anger at some point in our lives. Even today, maybe yesterday, and maybe tomorrow. Anger is a human emotion, so it's simply impossible to not give into anger at any point in your life. Despite being stoic, it can still be very hard to control your emotions, and a lot of people in the real world use the concept of stoicism in their everyday lives, and a lot of characters from, fictional shows have inspired people to be more like this. We see this as the Khan killed his friend and Ryuzo after he betrays their people. It shows how much anger and sadness Jin struggled with, but he didn't want to show it because samurais don't show emotion. They're supposed to be strong and always prepared no matter what. He is quite essentially the embodiment of what a samurai is supposed to be. As he starts to develop, he starts to lose that sense of the samurai code. Lord Shimura is a man who taught Jin everything about the samurai code. As Jin's personality starts to develop, he starts to lose this respect for his uncle, as his uncle sent people to mindlessly die. Lord Shimura is a man who relied on the samurai code instead of using tactics and strategy to win a battle. Real quick, I want to discuss that the topic of everybody is a slave to something. And we've seen this idea explored in Attack on Titan and Vinland Saga. However, it's also explored in Ghost of Tsushima because Lord Shimura is a slave to his honor and the samurai ideology. Shimura's obsession with maintaining honor made him sacrifice numerous samurai lives and refuse to learn or change the tactics to win the war and beat the Mongols. He would rather have every person on the island die to save his honor, which is insane. How can you justify thousands of people dying just for honor? However, Jin was a slave too. Now, it might not be a bad thing that he was a slave, but he was a slave with his obsession of beating the Mongols and adapting their tactics. We see this as he utilized the same brutality as the Mongols to the point that he invented a new powerful and terrifying poison to kill them. And we see the Mongols was able to get this poison and use it against his own people. They used the poison against his own people, and that was all his fault. However, Jin Sakai still has a good motive. He just wants to save his people. He doesn't want his people to be enslaved, raped, killed. The Mongols raped and pillaged countless times a village, and they did it in our world as well. I mean, this is based on history, so all of this actually happened. Maybe not Jin Sakai though. Let's just say this, for example. Imagine a guy broke into your house, tried to kill your mom, and you had to fight him the honorable way, but the other guy didn't fight honorably, so he killed your mother. And the reason why is because you were trying to fight the honorable way, so your mom died because of you trying to fight with honor. This is basically what Lord Shimura was doing. Like, this is not justified at all. It's not. But let's get into the psychological inner conflict of Jin Sakai. Like I said before, after the Battle of Komada Beach, we start to see this psychological inner conflict in Jin Sakai take place between the samurai side and his immoral side, basically. Like a child, he struggled with the inner conflicts of acceptance and fear. He noticed the Mongols were using the samurai code ideology against them. As you are playing the game, you can see Jin fight this inner conflict as he hesitates to dishonor his family's legacy and the samurai code. The more he develops as a person, he starts to lose this hesitant nature. We see this when he fights the Mongols. We can see more evidence of this inner conflict in the game as he has an option to choose the moral tactics based off the samurai code or the immoral tactics as he starts to develop. We can see in these two images I provided on the scene, you can see you can have a standoff option, which is the honorable option of the samurai, and you can have an assassinate option where you attack the enemy in the back. Now, attacking enemy in the back, is that truly honorable? Ask yourself that question. Would an honorable person stab their enemy in the back when they're unaware? Remember, Bushido only teaches that cowards strike from behind. In a way, Jin Sakai starts to parallel the Khan, using immoral tactics and fighting in an immoral way. He starts to be more like a Mongol than a samurai. Shimura is actually the real embodiment of what a samurai should actually be. He embraces the embodiment of what a samurai's aspects are, which is honor, courage, and loyalty. Jin is losing his honor the more he fights as Shimura reacts to it. Shimura starts to see Jin acting more like the Mongols, in which Shimura sees the Mongols as monsters without morality. Jin Sakai starts to see how much a slave Shimura is to the samurai code. Shimura refuses to change his tactic because he wants to teach them to be honorable and true to the samurai code. Meanwhile, Jin has this inner conflict with the samurai code, making him use immoral tactics to win the war. He lost all respect for his uncle, but still showed that he loved him. As Jin develops, he starts to become more like the Khan, defending his name while becoming the exact opposite of Lord Shimura. Due to the inner conflict that Jin has developed, he is going against the very concept of morality. We can see this inner conflict start to take place when Jin is saved by a thief called Yuna. She suggests immoral tactics because she's obviously not a samurai. However, we can still see that Jin wants to fight in a loyal way according to the samurai code. From here, we can see that Jin is still loyal to the samurai code. He even starts to question himself, could they win with the samurai code of morality and honor? The samurai code could perhaps lead to the destruction of their people and the island. Jin starts to realize that this, and something emerges within him. He still has an inner conflict with fear when it came to his father. This was the traumatic experience known as PTSD, in which he had to overcome. However, we see the scene of when Jin Sakai puts on his father's armor. We can see that he is hesitant at first due to the trauma of when he got his father killed as a child. He needed to represent the legacy of his clan. He eventually overcame this to protect the people of the island and was able to overcome his PTSD, overcoming his inner conflict of fear that he had as a child. Through the development of his inner conflict, Jin started to take up the identity known as the Ghost. The Ghost was a formless and unpredictable force. The Mongols weren't expecting a being known as the Ghost. The Mongols knew that the Samurai Code ideals can be used against the samurai forces, but the Ghost was different. The Ghost was viewed in many ways: a monster, a hero to the people. The samurai viewed the Ghost as dishonorable to the moral code. The people of the island viewed the Ghost as a hero. The Mongols viewed the Ghost as a monster with the no morals, which they exactly are. Everybody had a different outlook on the Ghost. Some of his allies were displeased with his immoral tactics. Despite many people calling Jin dishonorable, he developed his own sense of honor, justice, and morality, creating his own ideology, basically. Those previous samurai ideologies died to him on the beach. Jin has a new ideology of combat tactics and values, which persists of doing whatever it takes to protect his people. However, is there honor in war? When two countries are fighting to the death, sending soldiers out to fight, who is really going to play fair in war? Is death or life? Who is going to play fair? People want to live. Why have honor when your enemies don't have honor themselves? The Mongols were a pure evil force to be reckoned with. They raped and pillaged and killed anybody who they ever wanted to. The Mongols were immoral monsters that had slaughtered millions of people. The Mongols themselves didn't have a concept of ideology, dignity, ethics, empathy, and morality like the samurai did. Jin Sakai's new honor represents a symbol of hope, which is standing and defending the defenseless. Underneath that immoral image of war is just a man trying to protect his people and serve his island. Jin didn't change throughout the game, but he merely changed his outlook on the concept known as ideology.
You want revenge? Failure. This is not my revenge.
I don't want to hurt you.
The clash of ideals. A clash of ideals between uncle and nephew. The ideologies of being lawfully good and chaotically good. Jin Sakai becomes a traitor to the shogun for betraying the samurai code. For using immoral tactics in war, the shogun tasks his own uncle to kill him. Shimura agrees to kill his own nephew for the sake of the samurai code, which shows how much a slave he is to it. He puts his code over family. As I explained before, Shimura is a strong believer in the samurai code of honor, courage, and loyalty. Jin Sakai has developed a new ideology of doing whatever means necessary to protect the things he loves. However, Lord Shimura is an example of hypocrisy. He believes in his ideals of morality and the samurai code. Shimura says the samurai must serve an example for honor and courage to the lower class. The thing is, he treats the lower class like trash. This shows that he is a classist. He sent his own low-class soldiers to mindlessly die and be treated, and showed no gratitude to Yuna for saving his nephew from dying simply because she was lower class and a thief. He only acknowledges the deeds of the higher class of samurai in a higher ranked society. Shimura also taught Jin to master his emotions according to the samurai code, yet he lashes out and gets angry when he gets criticized. He is a strong believer in the samurai code, yet he also goes against it. Shimura is such a slave to his honor that he believes it is more important over human life. Meanwhile, Jin becomes the exact opposite, caring for all the people in Tsushima no matter what class you are in. Shimura believes killing Jin is his punishment for the ghost. The Jin was the ideal successor to his clan, and it was thrown away by ideologies. Jin Sakai just simply doesn't believe that there should be two types of ideologies. He doesn't believe that there should be these type of rituals that should be performed in war, because at the end of the day, you're fighting for your life. I mean, are you going to have time to say, oh, let's do this an honorable way when someone's trying to kill your entire family? Jinsakai believes the concept of pragmatism and combat efficiency, which also represents the historical samurai. Samurais were brutal and ruthless fighting machines. Although they still had values, they were monsters in their own right. They would protect what's dear to them, no matter the cost. However, Jinsakai might be a hero to the people. He is no saint either, as he has done a lot of dark things. However, he didn't become as evil as Koten Khan was. He still had morality at the end of the day. Historical samurai were the same way as Jin. They were kind and friendly when it came to their people. When war struck, they became the most ruthless and coldest people ever. This is the exact description of Jinsakai. The question is, what does morality or honor mean when it comes to war? Should honor justify you killing people in cruel ways and slicing them through their freaking chest? How does honor justify killing people and causing cruelty? The concept of right or wrong are interpretive. How far would you go to maintain this honor? Take Shimura, for example. He tried to kill his own nephew for being dishonorable. How can you justify honorary killings just by saying the victim brought dishonor to the family name? You are still taking someone's life at the end of the day, but yet justifying according to your idealism. Honorary killings shouldn't justify murder sometimes. There is no honor in taking someone's life. Who was in the right, Jin or Shimura? In my opinion, Jinsakai. Now, some people say that Jinsakai was in the wrong, but look at it. He had no choice. It was either save the island or everybody dies. If you stay with the same ideology, they would have lost the war and everybody would have died. So that's like you. You're staying honorable and all of your family dies because you stay honorable. So I feel like Jinsakai had no choice here. Why should you use honorable tactics on an enemy who had no honor? People who are monsters and just wanted to destroy everything in their path. Or should you use the same immoral tactics against your enemies and wish they can learn from you? The Mongols used the same poison Jin created against the people of Tsushima. They died horrible deaths because of Jin. But which option do you pick between the two ideologies? Should you kill your uncle in honor and embrace the samurai code again? Or should you continue the ideology of the ghost and spare him? If you kill Lord Shimura, his uncle's last piece of honor, given into the samurai code by killing Shimura, and then fully embraces the path of the ghost, moving on from his life or the honor in which Shimura symbolizes. However, killing Lord Shimura makes Jin more of a monster. It makes him more like the Khan, which they shouldn't even be. He shouldn't even be close in the comparison to the Khan, and killing Lord Shimura is what makes Jinsakai look like this. By sparing Lord Shimura, it symbolizes Jin refusing to get back into the samurai code and not giving his uncle an honorary death. It represents his brand new ideology. He leaves his uncle defeated, all while completing his journey as the ghost, completely abandoned by the identity that he had at the start of the Mongol invasion. The island is saved, but he will be hunted for the rest of his days. In the end, the ghost represents open mind, flexibility, and adaptability, while the samurai represents consistency and discipline. I think the moral lesson that we can learn from this is that we shouldn't live life in one straight line. Think of it where you have a problem that you need to solve. You shouldn't just think of one strategy to solve that problem. You should think of many strategies to overcome that problem. You will forever be a traitor to the shogun.
I will never be like you. The way you lived was not my choice. And your death was not my fault.
A new path. Fast forwarding, Jin goes to Iki Island in which he starts to get PTSD from his father's death again. He meets a bandit named Tenzo, but turns out this is the man that actually killed his father. When Jin realizes this, he is ready to avenge his father. Jin always believed his father was an amazing person. He always couldn't believe how a simple bandit striked his own father down. Jin then meets his father, but turns out it's actually a hallucination of Jin's fears. As I said before, we know Jin suffers from the PTSD of his father's death and also believes it is his fault for his father dying. He fears that his father is disappointed in him, and he also learned why Tenzo killed his father. He learned about his father's actions in which he slaughtered a bunch of villagers. He was also an absent parent as well. As we can see, Jin Sakai's father was pretty ruthless, just like the Mongols, with a crime of just slaughtering a bunch of villagers. How can you justify that? However, he finally overcomes the fear that he believed caused his father's death. He also saw that his father wasn't that great of a person. Growing up, Jin always wanted to be like his father, but then he learned the truth, his father's actions. Although he still respects his father as a warrior, you should respect anyone as a warrior. Jin Sakai was also a brutal warrior. The thing is, you have to understand someone's motives for bringing brutality. Everyone mostly has reasons for what they do, and we need to understand that. The island of Iki wasn't innocent either. The villagers were a place of thieves and robbers. These people weren't so moral either. It's all a point of view. It's all subjective. I wouldn't condone his brutality or try to justify it, but he had his reasons. Jin Sakai was raised to believe in the morals of the samurai. The main internal conflict of what Jin is he knows what needs to be done. It's also the right way. The thing is, it goes against everything he was told. He always wanted to be like his father and an honorable samurai and embracing the concepts of Bushido. If he follows in what way he is told, which is the right and moral way, then everyone he loves will be harmed. He has no choice but to create his own definition of honor and to protect the people he loves. Jin protects his father's killer, which shows his development and how he has came to a sense of the senseless killing and taking revenge. He realized that some of these people had reasons. Jin protects his father's killer, showing that he has given up on the path of revenge, turning into a new path. He will not follow the ideals his father created. This also shows that Jin is not completely immoral or consumed by darkness. He is still a good man at heart and still has a desire to protect his people. You know, this development is insane. Just forgiving your father's killer. That's an insane thing because forgiveness is super hard to give into. Let me just ask you this question. If someone killed one of your family members, would you forgive them? Even if you did forgive them, that would take a lot and a lot and a lot of strength to do. Even then, I think that Jin's father would still be proud of how he defeated the Mongolian army invasion against the island of Tsushima, even forgiving the man who killed his father. This also emphasizes the ghost one more time, showing that Jin's own definition of honor and morality, and moving on to the next stage of life, and moving on from his tragic past and looking into the future, into the next life. You should always stay true to what you believe, even if they go against the people you hold dearly. And if you made it this far, thank you for watching. I truly, truly, truly appreciate it. Until next time.